Namaskar, good morning. I'm Dr. Sudhnya N. Kulkarni, Associate Professor at Janki Devi Memorial College, Department of Philosophy. I'll be presenting human values on a course offered by IGNOU on ethical theories and applications, human values. We begin with simple subjectivism. The unit on human values aims at introducing the students to the understanding of moral values and also to contemporary debates regarding metaphysical aspects of ethics. The debate is mainly centered around the question whether or not values can be objective. The unit examines the objective views and the subjective views about values and presents arguments that have been put forward by different schools in support of their positions. The unit further analyzes the shortcomings of each position by presenting a comprehensive view. The question that we will pose now is to know if there are objective moral values. Those who say yes are moral objectivists and those who say no are moral subjectivists. Before one goes on to analyze the two positions, it is important to understand what is the significance of objective values. A distinction is made between model of perception and model of taste. Model of perception is a position held by objectivists that things are desired because they have a value, whereas the model of the taste position held by subjectivists states that because things are desired, so they have value. Desire can be understood as preferences, approval, or appreciation. Thus, objective values exist independently of our desires, preferences, and emotions. The value of a thing is independent of our preferences and it exists independently of our mind. The anti-objectivists hold that values do not exist independently of our attitudes or preferences. They in fact deny that there are objective values or norms. This position of anti-objectivists is also termed as relativism. Within the relativists, there are those who hold that truth depends on the individual or a group, a position which is known as epistemic relativism. Aesthetic relativism, on the other hand, holds that the conception of beauty is dependent on the culture it is a part of. Moral relativism, on the other hand, holds that the conceptions of good or bad depend on individuals and cultural groups. Given these differing positions regarding values and their assessment, we will examine the positions of simple subjectivism and cultural relativism. Now I begin with simple subjectivism. Simple subjectivism holds that all moral statements are true. In other words, truth is what an individual approves of. It is a relativist position, which means that what I hold is true for me and what you hold is true for you. As the nature of truth is subjective, so it is termed as model of taste. The subjectivists hold both the ontological and the semantic version on the nature of truth. Ontological version implies no objective values exist independent of the subject, and semantic version signifies that a statement made by a person is true for that person. Therefore, no statements are true or false, a position known as infallibility. However, there are certain challenges to this notion of truth, as truth is individualistic. It loses contextual sensibility. Further, if each person's claim is true, then it leads to contradiction. This position is further compounded by the fact that it leads to intrapersonal conflicts and interpersonal conflicts. These moral conflicts cannot be solved and lead to impossibility of dissent. Thus, simple subjectivism has a closed view on the nature of truth and value. Simple subjectivism cannot account for the fact that we can be wrong at times. We may want to make corrections in our judgments. But simple subjectivism doesn't permit this. Therefore, simple subjectivism cannot be correct. Simple subjectivism cannot account for disagreement. For instance, if a person says X is morally acceptable and another person says X is not morally acceptable, then according to simple subjectivism, they are both stating their respective positions. So simple subjectivism does not allow for disagreement. Now we come to subjectivism of Mackey. J.L. Mackie, in his book Ethics, Inventing Right and Wrong, written in 1977, argued that there are no objective values. The claim that values are not objective includes moral values and also non-moral values. As Mackie was primarily concerned with moral values, his outright rejection of objectivity of moral values may indicate that he is a moral skeptic. A moral skeptic is someone who rejects morality and all moral judgments. But Mackie is not endorsing the position of a moral skeptic. Rather, he is discussing his view regarding the status of moral values and how they fit into the fabric of the world. In other words, the fact that value statements cannot be either true or false. It is important to note here, however, that the subjectivist is not denying the presence of objective standards of evaluation that are present in different fields. All that Mackie is asserting is that there are no objective means of selecting the standards by which values are assessed. His argument is termed as argument from queerness. The argument has two parts, one metaphysical and the other epistemological. According to Mackie, if there are objective values, then they should belong to a special category, and further, our awareness of these values would not be like ordinary awareness. In fact, he states if there were objective moral values, then they would be qualities or relations of a very strange sort, utterly different from anything else in the universe. If we were aware of these objective values, then it would be very different from our ordinary awareness of things. So, to answer the question, how are we aware of ethical reasoning? The response given by the objectivist would be that we possess a special kind of intuition. This response is, however, further complicated by the additional question: if anything has objective moral quality, then how is it connected with its natural features? Thus, to conclude, Mackie states that moral judgments provide us with reasons for actions. If moral judgments provide us with reasons, then they should be categorical. Unfortunately, there are no categorical reasons, so all moral judgments are false. The only reason why Mackie's theory is preferable to simple subjectivism is that it is closer to common sense. So far as infallibility goes, Mackie does claim that two judgments about the same thing can be contradictory, a claim that is not even entertained by simple subjectivism. In this unit, we have focused on the concept of simple subjectivism and also referred to Mackie's view of subjectivism. The theory appears to be stating an obvious truth that each person's claim of truth belongs to that individual. Thus, simple subjectivism may have started as a philosophical idea that our moral opinions are based on our feelings and there is no objective right or wrong. Stated in this manner, it appeals to many people. However, simple subjectivism is open to several objections. A, it cannot account for our fallibility. The fact that we can all be wrong or incorrect at times would be a position that is not acceptable for simple subjectivists. This would amount to stating that we all are infallible, a position plainly incorrect. Further, simple subjectivism gives no space for disagreements. If person A says, for example, homosexuality is not immoral and person B says it is immoral, then in such a scenario, simple subjectivism would not allow the two to be in opposition. The reason being given that each is stating their own respective views and there are no objective right or wrong values. Stated in such a manner, simple subjectivism appears to be a flawed theory of ethics. Now we come to cultural relativism. Cultural relativists accept both the ontological and semantic versions and say that all moral statements are true. On the other hand, they accept the ontological version and say that all moral statements are false. Therefore, all moral statements may be true or false. This school holds a relativist position in which each group holds that what they claim is true according to them. Since they hold that the subjectivist position, they have the same advantages of subjectivism, that is, respect for difference in cultural context. The core concepts are, since there is respect for diversity in culture, it allows one to be aware of it and therefore provides room for accepting these differences. 2. The cultural relativists respect diversity of moral norms and practices. They accept that there are no objective values. 3. As the different moral norms and practices are derived from certain set patterns and the cultural relativists end up holding on to objectivity of values indirectly. Thus, cultural relativism, as it has been held, challenges our ordinary belief in the objectivity of universal and objective moral values. The cultural relativist makes certain claims which explain their standpoint. These claims, though, are not exhaustive, but simply explain the views of the cultural relativists. The claims are as follows. Different societies have different moral norms or codes. These moral norms are specific to that society and determine what is right or wrong within that social setup. There is no objective standard that can be used to judge the moral norms of different societies. There is no universal truth or moral truth that applies to different individuals across society. As Nietzsche had once said, you have your way, I have my way. As for the correct way and the only way, it does not exist. So the moral code of one society is one among many. Of course, Nietzsche is not a cultural relativist, rather an atheist existentialist, yet his views do express the basic idea behind cultural relativism. There is no set or determined objective standard that can be used as a measuring rod to decide which moral norm is the best or correct. Cultural relativism allows for developing the attitude of tolerance. Challenges of accepting cultural relativism. If one were to accept the argument of cultural relativism, what would be the consequences of such a position? A major consequence would be that one would not be in a position to judge whether a custom or a practice is morally inferior or superior as compared with other practices. As far as the rightness or wrongness of actions go, one would simply judge them by referring to their own societal norms. If each moral code is independent of the other and is correct within a particular social milieu, then can there be moral progress at all? In order to develop and expand the horizons of moral norms and practices, one has to be critical, reflective, and be accepting of those. But if what cultural relativists hold is true, then there is no standard by which we can assess, judge, and replace existing norms with new ones. This poses a serious problem with reference to social reform. The basic question behind the cultural relativist position is that the cultures differ in their views of right or wrong. But if one examines deeply, the differences are not as stark as they are made out to be. The differences are not about values as they are about practices. Oftentimes, the practices are a product of customs of a society, which influence the religious and factual beliefs too. Thus, the actual difference is with respect to beliefs more than values. This brings us to the fact that even though the cultural relativists argue regarding different standards of moral values, yet one cannot deny that there are certain values which are universal. To take, for example, telling truth, keeping promises, not killing another human being. All these are practices which need to be observed. Otherwise, coexistence in any form of social group would become impossible. These examples demonstrate that there are certain core rules or norms which have to be followed by societies as they are necessary for its existence. Thus, cultures may vary with regard to differences in the way in which violations are assessed, but not all variations are differences of moral values or norms. The question then arises, can there be neutral standards by which we may judge cultural practices and deem them right or wrong? One way of looking at neutral standards of judging is to ask whether that practice is beneficial for the people affected by it. The other way is to look for some method which, even though may be external to the system, yet since it concerns the welfare of the people, it can be accepted because welfare of the people is integral to any society. Another important aspect of cultural relativism is that it generates large-scale acceptance amongst people who may otherwise be against certain social practices. The reasons could be many, yet chief among them may be a spirit of tolerance and acceptance of other cultures. Further, people like to distance themselves from practices on account of not inviting trouble. By not interfering, they are safeguarding themselves. At times, people don't like to judge because they feel themselves to be not equipped enough to pass judgments about cultures they have no knowledge of. If we go on to assess cultural relativism, we find that cultural relativism appears to be appealing, but there are certain issues that need to be examined. A, being tolerant and not interfering may be acceptable, but it has certain ramifications. In the name of being tolerant, we may allow certain evil practices to thrive, and unless one challenges, no growth in moral practices can happen. Being reluctant to judge does not imply that the particular culture is bad. All that it highlights is there are good and bad practices in all cultures. We must be aware of which we need to do away with for the betterment of the people. Cultural relativism accepts there are moral practices peculiar to societies which are products of that culture. Therefore, they cannot be judged to be right or wrong. But the cultural relativists cannot jump to the conclusion that all practices are a product of cultural impact. Cultural relativism allows us to have an open mind and not be dogmatic in our views. Thus, as a theory, it has certain shortcomings, yet it draws attention to the fact that many moral practices are simply a product of cultural influence and need to be spelt out such. Cultural relativism may appear appealing as it focuses on divergence, tolerance of different cultures, but at the same time, it has its shortcomings because it applies particular examples as being reflective of the entire theory. We have looked at how human values have been interpreted according to different schools of thought. We began our discussion with simple subjectivism, according to which there are no objective values. The definition of truth as per simple subjectivism is determined by each individual and is specific to his or her circumstance. While discussing simple subjectivism, we also looked at the view of J.L. Mackie, who stated that no objective values exist independent of the subject. However, it is essential to note that Mackie's theory is not beset with the same problems as simple subjectivism is. Thus, while analyzing human values, one has to keep in mind the different viewpoints that have been presented about it. Next, we looked at cultural relativism as offering an altogether different perspective on moral or human values. The cultural relativist holds that moral values are specific to cultures. In other words, there are no predetermined parameters by which human values or objective values can be judged. The school of cultural relativism holds a relativist position vis-a-vis moral values. A distinct advantage of this position is that it allows one to be far more accommodating about cultural differences, yet it gives no space to disagreements. The basis for differences in moral values amongst cultures is rooted either on religious or social beliefs. These beliefs at a basic level are same across cultures to a great extent. The only difference is in their applications. The application and approach are what bring out the cultural differences. Therefore, cultural relativism adopts a relativist position with respect to moral values. Another approach towards moral human values is that of rational constructivism. Rational constructivism argues that moral values exist only if they are constructed. In other words, moral truths can be constructed through reason. There is a problem here. The question is who will decide which moral truth is rational or irrational. Therefore, even this approach is problematic. Thus, in Unit on Human Values, we started with a definition of simple subjectivism. Both the ontological and the semantic versions were looked at. We also accepted the challenges that are present in simple subjectivism with regard to intra and interpersonal conflicts. We looked at cultural relativism and the difficulties of this approach too. Rational constructivism also looks at resolving the debate around moral values, yet it also fails in its approach. To conclude, each of the views presented are approaches to understand the significance of human values in our lives and how we as rational beings need to keep our focus on them in order to cohabit harmoniously. Thank you.